Hey everyone, Live Oaks has finally returned. This map was removed from the game with update 5.0 if I'm not mistaken, and we finally got it back after 3 years. It is one of my favorite maps. It was also the best map that was missing from the game out of all the remaining maps that we don't have. The last few maps that were added, like Azure Coast, that was a new map, Berlin, Ruinberg. I don't like those maps that much. They are more heavy oriented, but this map is perfect because this caters to every class. You can do well in this map if you're in a heavy tank. You can do well if you're in a tank destroyer. You can do well if you're in a light tank and medium, and of course artillery. We won't talk about artillery though. So in this is also the first map guide we will do, since it's a returning map, and many of you might not have played this map, to give you some ideas how to play this map effectively, and also a quick review for those who did play this map, but it's been a while. So I am playing Panther 7. The tank was buffed. The side armor were buffed a little bit for this tank, not a little bit, considerably. So it went from 160 to 300 and then 160 to 240, the two plates on the side. So you can effectively side scrape better now, but the playstyle is more or less the same, just more reliable side armor. So in this map, since there was artillery, town is the best option for my tank, or for a heavy tank. And town is the best option even for me without the artillery, because I'm a rear mounted tank, and you just do better on the AB line in the town compared to on the 9-0 line, because they have a lot of ridges over there, and the tanks with gun depression are the ones that are more effective over on that side. So you'll see in this map that even though there was artillery, I was able to kind of play pretty well, as they only sent a couple of tanks in the town, and I would trade that. So let's go over where to play for different classes. So for light tanks, they can spot the field, they can spot the cross from C6, C5. They can spot the tanks going one line. And you can see our TDs are set up at C6. That's a good spot for TDs or mediums. And if a light tank spots the one line, you can get some shots as they're crossing. Similarly, over on the other side, they also have a TD ridge or a medium ridge around F4, similar to what we have on this side, and it serves a similar purpose. You can support in the town, and you can quickly retrieve to your base to help if your base is getting overrun. And there's a safe positions as well. So that's for the tank destroyer medium, or in the middle. If you're in a frontal gun depression medium, or medium with gun depression, you can also play 9-0 line even when there is artillery, because you have camo and you'll be unspotted and you're quick to move around. I will not recommend playing a heavy over a 9-0 line when there are artillery, because you will get constantly focused and you'll always be spotted, so you'll be the one that's getting targeted all the time. Tank destroyer can also play 9-0 because they do have that camo, as well as whenever anyone peeks they can punish. But the ideal position to play it around E9-ish area. And again, they can just easily come back. It's a flat map. You don't have to go uphill anywhere, so you can easily rotate if you feel the flank is falling. You can just, from 9-0 line, you can come to B0 and hold from there, because from B0 you can help the town as well, which you will see here. So I realized that we have lost the town, and Sturm is pushing. I'm kind of trying to use these destructible houses to reduce the splash, and just because the terrain was flat, I was able to come back, and hoping my artillery will have some shots. I was lucky that their artillery wasn't really focusing me, because he is focusing over on the other side. That's where most of the tanks are, so I did get a bit lucky. And because I kept retreating, the enemies were now in the render of our teammates, and that's what I like, right? Even if I commit to a side, I like the option to be able to retreat, so that it's easier for my team to help. It would have been better if he had a TD a little bit closer. However, Tehran died that was running away. Sturm didn't pen this time. Took that opportunity to take him out of the game. IS-4 is one shot. It felt like we might have a chance now, as the score is 8-10. And as for did pen me, and I managed to finish him, bringing the score a little bit more even. So going over 9-0 line. So it's the same from the other side as well. You can play, if you're a TD, you can play like J5, J6 area over on the tracks. You can provide a vision. And then if you're medium, you can play a little bit forward. Basically, you don't cross the river at H8, J8, J9. You just stay on your side of the spawn, and you'll be fine, as you will be able to escape. But just don't overcommit, because you can get jumped and your team will not have support if you jump to the river. So as you saw, E4, I know E4 was there as he was spotted early on, but I managed to bait him out in the open, and our TD was able to help me. And that's the best part about this map, right? I got to town, I managed to come back, and I'm in a slow tank. I was reversing. We are now losing, and I do see Taurus kind of driving in the open. They probably thought I'll die since I didn't have much health. We do have those 5 tanks, but they're getting pushed. And at this point, I could tell that we are about to lose the game, and all I can do is get some more damage safely as possible. I can't take any shots because they'll pen me more probably, and if I am spotted, I'll also get artillery. Both of their artillery is still alive. I pen a shot in Ruthless, and I decided to just stay behind this house because I won't outspot anyone. They have light, medium TD. So I just decided to stay here, and whenever I'll get spotted, I'll try to peek and hopefully get a shot or 2 if I get lucky. And these destructible houses are also really helpful. Most of the times people kind of ignore it, but if you are outnumbered, these are your friends, as they will absorb shots and you will not get damaged. Even if they even shield you from artillery. Centurion gets spotted, put a shot into him, and it did finish me off in return. So this was how to play a heavy tank on this side. Now we have another replay where I'll be playing the 9-0 line, and as I said, it is more effective without artillery for a heavy tank. But you should still play it if you're in a medium tank, right? Either play that TD Ridge or the 9-0. So those positions apply to both TDs and medium. Basically anything with camo, it's just that TD stays a little bit back and medium is a little bit forward, because they do have better gun handling, as well as they can spot the enemies easily. Moving on to our next game. Next game was sent in by Tokido. His channel link is in the description. Make sure to follow him if you haven't already. He's playing his Chieftain Mark 6. His game, he was lucky since he got no artillery. Usually we only get 1 artillery these days, but I was a little bit unlucky to get 2, but again, didn't really have much impact. And as I said, I can't stress, this map is balanced for every class, unless we kind of started ruining the meta of how to play. So this map is not in era 3, which is a good thing, because what I've seen is if there's a map in era 3, people just start running clockwise, and that's the thing I hope doesn't happen, because in this map will be kind of ruined. For example, in Great Wall, everyone go to C2, and basically every other side is useless. Similarly, if everyone just start ignoring town, or let's say one team will go to town and the other go to 9-0, or let's say both teams go to town or both teams go to 9-0, then you're not really utilizing the entire map, and you kind of become very limited on what you can do, because if you're covering the other side, you might get overrun or there might be no one to shoot. But as long as the tanks plays their role correctly, and that's the goal of this video as well, to maybe give you an idea of where you can go. Because in World War II you can still hold, especially when you're top tier. You can't really hold in Cold War, and you can obviously in era 1 better compared to era 2 and 3, and you can somewhat hold in era 2 just because it's not as fast as era 3, but you can still get missile. And but of course, like in World War II, whenever you're a top tier tank, you should be able to hold different position effectively and just farm, especially when you have some support in the form of TD. So Tokido went to H9, and as you can see, frontal gun depression, just farming the enemies that are pushing. One of his TDs moved forward, and that's what I was saying. There is no point going into the river because you don't really have much support, and that's how you die quickly. CC Mark II does have good gun depression. He could have played the same position as Tokido. Tokido is still trying to cover him because he's kind of baiting the enemies, but the tank will die sooner than later. Similar with the tank on the right, he's not using his gun depression, just sitting in the open. Another Italian tank destroyer. And the good thing about Tokido's position where he's playing is not only he has shots on the left side if they cross or play ridges, he also has shots on the TDs that are playing on the tracks. So very, very strong position. And as you can see, he has some support, some medium there on the backside just supporting him. They're not spotted, so if Tokido gets pushed, right, they basically have wall of defenses. They have 2 tanks forward. Again, I don't recommend that position. Can get jumped, especially if there is a platoon in the enemy team. There isn't in this case. So his team has lost the town, and that's another thing. They have 1 medium in the middle. That's a bad spot. Don't go in that swamp, at least early on, because it is a very soft terrain and you lose a lot of speed even in a light tank. So there is an option to drive through here late game, but I won't recommend going there early on. The medium is getting out of the spawn now. And as you can see, our team on 9-0 line, they just went a little bit back, and now they can punish the push that is coming from AB line. Another thing is the way the caps are placed, it's very easy to defend. You cannot get capped out. The cap timer is 100 seconds like a standard 1000 by 1000 map, but it's not easy to cap. It's very easily defendable. And the 9-0 line, where one of the TDs is playing, A9, A0, there are a lot of rebels, so you can kind of hide, punish as they're coming in. So team has to be careful while crossing or getting out of the town. You can't just drive straight. And the similar applies to the J2 spawn as well, because if you're coming through the town, first there is a ridge at G3. G3 is the ridge. I think I said F4 earlier, but it's G3. And then after that, they can just hide at or set up at K2, K1 defensively and punish you as you're coming in. So you have to still be careful after you win your initial engagement of either the 9-0 or the town to how to go forward, because the bases are placed at very, very good location. I feel one of the most balanced map. We'll see how the meta develops, but I hope the map hasn't really changed much. You can still play the same positions. There weren't any climbs in this map particular. That was removed, right? It's a flat map, but there are some ditches that you can go to kind of hide. They're still there. There's still destructible houses towards the town side, and still have the train on the right that you can use as cover. Chisel tried to cross, took damage, and that's what I was saying. The other 2 guys that were forward, they are dead. Tokido his gun is continuously firing, and it is good for him that they went there because he was able to punish them. But and you always need someone to be bait, and it worked out for him. But if you want to do good or high damage game, I will not recommend you. Another thing is, I want to stress it out. There are obviously key positions in different maps, but there is no position worth going if you can't hold it or you don't have support. If you only have 1 or 2 or 3 guys going to a side, you'll probably lose, and then you basically 3 tanks for free, and your team will end up losing. So in that situation, you shouldn't push at all. For example, in this map, if there's no one playing where Tokido is playing, or on the mirror side of the enemy spawn, you just sit back at B0, or from their side you can just sit back at K2, and when they're coming you farm them for free. And because when they're getting farmed, you're in a safer spot and your team is close. So in Tokido's case, the guys from C6 can come back and help with the push, because it's not an easy push. And similarly, if there's no one in the town, you can again just set up at B0 and just punish them when they're coming. You can obviously start at C6 and then come back, but this depends. And everything is relative, right? Like a lot of good position, a lot more position become useful as the game progresses, as there are less guns in the game. But there are limited positions early on when there are more guns, and you should play safe when the game starts. And these are the key positions that we saw in both these the replays that you can go to where you can perform well. Of course, you can still play heavy tank on over this, and if there's an artillery, but more often than not, you will get punished unless the artillery is looking over on the other side on the town, but it's highly unlikely because of the buildings. Town is usually safer from artillery than in the open ground. And as the map game progresses, you can also start driving through the swamp for shortcuts. Just make sure you're going through the solid ground in between the swamp rather than the water, because you'll have better speed, right? The Iron gets spotted. Tuxedo penned him, rammed him, and him back to garage. 9k damage. And there's one tank alive in the enemy team. And yeah, so let me know if you like this idea of doing map guides. I wanted to do it for a while. I had kind of missed in Berlin, and then LiveOx was coming back. It was one of my favorite maps. Got some decent games that I thought it would be good to discuss how to play this map. Do recommend what other maps you would like to see the map guides on. If you want to, I'll probably do some of the maps that I love the most, like Westfield, Proc. We kind of had a little Proc map guide. Not really a map guide, but what not to do in Proc. So something like that. But we could do other maps, especially the newer maps. Azure Coast, I still don't know how to play, so that won't happen. But we could do something on Berlin, maybe, or a town map, depending on how the interest is. Do let me know in comments if you find it useful, if you learned something new, or if something that I missed that is useful. Do mention that as well, and we can kind of add that, because we all are here to help each other and learn, right? No one knows everything. It's just trying to help each other so we have a better experience during games, because the games are better when you have knowledgeable teammates. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked it, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.